So I was telling you, my dad sends me a joke, a typical dad joke, at pretty much the same time every day.
Yeah.
And today's joke, the kind of the start of the joke really caught me off guard. He just sent me this text message, which was, "Where do naughty rainbows go?"
Okay.
And I was like, I have no idea. And the punchline is, "Prism. It's only a light sentence."
You know what? That's pretty fucking good. What's up, Internet? You're tuned in to episode 1 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where two best friends from different nations get together to discuss the wide, wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete Bessie, joined, as always, by my very good friend, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Steven! It is a brand new era, a new world order, some might say. We are here for the inaugural episode of FlipScreen Games, and I am fucking hype. Where are you
Me
at?
too. I've been waiting for this for months. It's finally here, and I can't wait. I'm so excited to finally be back and talking video games with you once again.
I
We've only been
know.
off for a week, and it feels like forever.
It's funny because like we've literally gone a week here or there, right? Where like one of us couldn't make it or something, but this feels like it's been like a very long break. So
Yeah.
I'm like real eager to get back to it. Especially because we've got some really juicy stuff to talk about on this first episode. We've got some questions from you listeners. I'm excited to jump into it. But before we get into all that, let me just take a minute to tell you that this episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers. So, if you aren't familiar, of course, you can head over to patreon.com/flipscreengames, our brand new Patreon for the brand new channel, or you can head to flipscreen.games, which is our website, which has links to every single one of our, everywhere we are in every platform, flipscreen.games. That's the easiest way to get there. And these fine folks headed over there and supported us at the $10 level to become Patreon producers. So our Patreon producers for our first month live of August are, of course, Christopher Valenz, a.k.a. That Doc Guy, Zaid Ida, and Wakahula. Thank you so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. Y'all are the best. We really appreciate you coming in and supporting us before we even had our first episode up. So you are, of course, the realest of the real. So thank you so much for your support. And, of course, we hope that all of you listening will go over there and check it out. If you're not familiar, if this is your first time joining us, if you're coming over right from the debut video that announced everything and you're not familiar, of course, we do have a Patreon exclusive podcast called One More Thing, which you can get for just $2 a month. And that gets you an extra episode of the show every single week where Steve and I will keep the mics rolling. We'll talk about our personal lives. On the debut episode of that show, we talked about Steve's week-long vacation in the countryside. We talked about my trip to New York City to go record some vinyl in Brooklyn. We talked about a couple other things, like about the week off and how excited we are for the channel and everything. So it was a great conversation, and it's, of course, the best way for you to show your support for the show. And what we're doing here is head over to Patreon and support us at whatever level that you can and get a little bit of extra FlipScreen Games in your feed every week. As if 2 episodes of the show wasn't enough, you could get a third one. It's incredible. And then, of course, you could also go check out our Nintendo-specific show, Nintendo Noise, which is going to be out when you're listening to this. It should be out tomorrow. We'll see. But it's out this
We
week.
think, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think we've confirmed the schedule in our heads yet, but it'll be released at some point. I'll put a picture up on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/flipscreengames. That's the best place to find out when things go live.
We have it figured out, but I'm afraid to say it because we might change it before we go live. So, but I promise you that whenever you're listening to this, Nintendo Noise is available within a day or two. That is, of course, our Nintendo focus show where we have our buddy Chewy plays as a third chair on that one. We're super excited about that show. We haven't even gotten to record the first episode yet, so I'm very excited to sit down and do that later this week. So I hope you all check that out as well. And then, of course, just a couple other housekeeping items before we get into the main show here. I want to let you all know that our Twitch streams will be coming back at our new channel, twitch.tv/FlipScreenGames. They will be back on Thursday, August 12th. And I'm hoping that we can play a little bit of Pokémon Unite, maybe with some of our friends on YouTube, maybe with some of the community. I'm You'll hear all about how obsessed I am with that game right now. So August 12th.
I genuinely don't know how to play that game, so you're gonna have to teach me.
Oh, you're gonna get in
Like I said, I think it was on either the very last or the penultimate podcast. MOBAs are something I have never ever played, and I don't really understand
Now's the
Pokemon at
time.
the best of times. So I feel like this is maybe the time to learn both of those.
This is your inroad, Steve.
It can be.
I think we'll have to make it happen. Uh, and then just a couple other things. If you want to go join our Discord, if you are already a member of our old Discord, you're in. You're good. You're in the new one. If you want to come join our Discord and come be a part of our ever-growing community we have to come up with a nickname for what we call you listeners, but of FlipScreen Games fans. If you want to come join the ever-growing community over there and chat about games, help each other find next-gen consoles, all that kind of good stuff. It's a great community. We're happy to have it be a part of what we do here, and it's a really fun place to hang out and a very cool, inclusive place to hang out. So I hope you'll come be a part of that community and right into the show. Just like a bunch of fine folks did for this debut episode. You can hit us up at questions@flipscreen.games, which is our brand new questions email where, it's the easiest way to write into the show. But we've also got a channel for every one of the podcasts on the Discord, so you can come throw your questions in over there as well. Okay. I promise the plugs won't be that long every week, but I wanted to get it all out. I want to just make sure everybody's got all this information before we jump into what we're playing this week. So, Steve, I'm in a spot. I'm real eager to talk about both of my games, but we can start with yours if you'd like.
We'll get mine out of the way because I don't think I've got as much to say about them as you have about yours.
Okay.
So I've been away for a week because I haven't really played many video games. But when I got back, Flight Simulator was ready and waiting for me on my Xbox. So I booted that up. And I have played, I would say, 12 of the 23 tutorials that there are to start that game. It's a bit intense. The learning curve is steep, but I'm having a great time with it. As I said when we were recording One More Thing, I did a flight from New York to Philadelphia. Completely screwed up the landing. The landings are not my strong point, but I genuinely cannot get over how good this game looks at times. It's phenomenal.
Really
yeah, and the amount of work they put in. If your city is one of the ones that they have properly 3D mapped and it's not using the AI stuff, it's so fun just flying around your city or places that and spotting buildings that and spotting landmarks that I found my house on there. It was like as expected, as I said it would be. The first place I flew was home. It's so strange. I don't know why humans do it, but that's where I went. But yeah, flight sim is flight sim. I'm kind of wanting to get my hands on like a yoke and a stick and all of that stuff now, but I know that's probably a step too far. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. And then while I was away, basically all we do on holiday with my family is every night we play board games. So we take a bunch of the classics that we always play, but the type of game we like, and I might do a segment on an episode about board games if people are interested, is hidden identity games. I don't know if you played any of these.
Yeah, like Secret Hitler or...
Yeah, so we have played games like, I think I've spoken about them before, The Resistance, otherwise known as Avalon, and Deception, Murder in Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
But I picked up Secret Hitler while I was on holiday, and that's kind of very much a play on The Resistance or on Avalon. It takes that same game, that same hidden identity aspect, but adds to it with like voting and having to pass tokens from one person to another, and then pinning the blame on other people. It's really fun dynamic. And when you play with 5+ people, we were playing with 7 people, it was so much fun. It changed every time. Like you're either a fascist or you're a liberal or you're Hitler, and it's like trying to figure out who's who, and the ways you can win are so cool. And then another new game I picked up was Seven Wonders, which was something I'd never heard of before. And I only picked it up because it was it was perfect for 7 people, and there were 7 of us on holiday. So I got it from a local board game shop in Shrewsbury, and the game, essentially, I would describe it as Civilization, but a board game version of Civilization. So you take one of the 7 wonders of the world, so like the Pyramids of Giza, Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and each of those boards have like victory points or specific things you do, and it's basically a card game. So you deal out 7 cards per person that's playing, and you have a look at your hand, and you play a card. So each card takes a resource point that you need to be able to have or spend, um, and then you pass the hand to the next player on the table. So there's a lot of strategy involved in that. Oh, I've got to play what I want, but I also have to look and see what other people are doing.
Yeah, and
because
limit
if
what
I
they're trying
hand
to do.
this, yeah, because if I hand this stack hand of cards over to them, I know they're probably going to want to play this card, which is going to fuck me up. It's going to mean that they've got a bigger army than me, and therefore I'm screwed. So I could choose to just sell that card for 3 coins, or I could burn it and use it to build part of my wonder. So there's a lot of strategy involved and a lot of win conditions that you can
I
win
like that.
on like a science win, or you can win like by having like a large army that's defeated everyone and got a load of victory points in that way. It's really, really fun. And I've actually bought the app on my phone. I've been playing it and
Nice.
practicing, and I love this game. I highly, highly recommend it. If
You know
there's
what
only 2
game?
of you, there's also a 2-player variant called 7 Wonders Duel, which I'm probably going to end up picking up so me and Macaulay can play it.
Very nice. You know what you should check out? Have you ever heard of Scythe?
Yes, I really want to play
It's
Scythe,
so good. It's like one of my
but it's
favorite
so
board games.
expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's awesome. It is one of the coolest board games that I've ever played. And I
Yeah,
like it for their.
I might try that on Tabletop Simulator. It's one of the free games that comes with
Oh
Tabletop Sim. If you
yeah,
want to try that online sometime.
we should. I would love to do that. Yeah, I've only played it a couple times, but my friend Mike has it, and it's fantastic. I like it because it's got that same thing going on where there's like multiple win conditions, so like you can kind of.
I think you'd really like 7 Wonders, and I know for a fact Mike's got it, so you should
I don't think I've
sit
ever
down and
played
play
it.
with them.
Yeah, I've never played it with them, but yeah, I would like to, for sure. Well, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you were
So,
like going hard this week with board games.
oh, always, every time. There's like
How many of those were new?
so those 2 were new, but we also played. I also took Carcassonne and Catan. We took a bunch of other games. So the Resistance we knew, Murder in Hong Kong we knew. I need to put together like a video or a list of my top like hidden identity games because
Yeah.
I've played tons of them. The next one on my list, and I'll probably buy that before I assemble a video or do a little segment, is Mafia de Cuba, which is this really, really cool game. I don't know if you've heard of it, but you get a
No.
box. So one person plays the Godfather of the Mafia, and you're in one of 2 teams. You're either a thief or you're like a member of the Mafia.
Okay.
And this box gets passed around, and it's got diamonds in, and it's got a bunch of other items in, and you have to take an item out or pretend to take an item out and put it in your pocket and then pass the box around. And then at the end, the box goes back to the Godfather, who then basically interviews you and is like, well, what did you take out of the box? And then the next person will be like, well, what did the box have in it when it came to you? It's like, well, it had nothing in it. Well, that
Interesting.
can be true because Pete said it had 3 diamonds in there, and you're now saying there's nothing in there. So there's a lot of that same dynamic of who's lying in the group, who is on whose team, and the Godfather has
Yeah,
to work that out.
I
And
like
if he
that.
can't get all of his diamonds back, then the thieves win. And if he can get the diamonds back, then the mafia wins. But it's high on my list to check out because it really sounds like the kind of thing that would really be right up my street.
I'll make one more suggestion. I don't know if have you ever played Betrayal on the House of the Hill?
Oh, Betrayal House on the Hill is so good.
Fucking
I
love
was so
Betrayal.
annoyed. My sister has the copy of it and she didn't bring it with her, and I was like, "Fuck!" I really wanted to play Betrayal
I'm
House on the
gonna.
Hill.
I really want to buy a legacy version
Yeah,
of
the
it.
legacy
There's a legacy
version.
edition of it that I'm gonna pick up. I have like a gift card for a board game shop in Philly that's like burning a hole in my pocket. I'm definitely gonna pick that up.
Yeah, you really should. Like, I've always wanted to play a legacy game because if
I've never
people
done it.
listening don't know what they are games that you play once, and it's like one long campaign across like a book that you will go through and you'll play different campaigns. You can get Pandemic Legacy as well, which I was considering getting before we went into an actual live pandemic, and it was like, this hits too close to home. I do not want to be having to.
I don't play that game anymore now.
No, right? Who wants to find a vaccine and eradicate a virus? No one wants to do that in 2021.
And I always liked it because it was cooperative. It was like, oh, it's like it's a fun game to play with multiple people. You don't have to like pit each other against each other. Like it's like more low key. But no. It's too hard. It's too hard to win. It's like, oh no, this is depressing.
Yeah, it's like you can pull out an epidemic card and it's like, oh look, there's a new variant that's now spreading. It's like,
oh boy,
this feels so familiar. But anyway, bringing it back to video games. So you've been playing 2 games. I know you were playing Mass Effect before I left.
Yeah.
So how did you get on with Mass Effect?
So if you listen to the last episode of the podcast, I talked about how I thought I would probably be done with Mass Effect 2 by the time we sat down to record this show. And as luck would have it, I finished Mass Effect 2 on Sunday. And it was great, right? Like Mass Effect 2 is like on the short list of my favorite games of all time. But I almost fucked myself. So there's a mission and this is like the worst thing in Mass Effect 2. There's a mission that you take and the game warns you, but it doesn't really warn you. Like it's like, okay, if you take this mission, like this is like the point of no return, right? But it's not quite that. So what happens is you take, and I won't, no spoilers, but there's this mission that you get. And when you take this mission, it starts an invisible timer, basically, in the back end of the game. So if it does 2 different timers, it either has a 4-mission timer. So when you do 4 different missions, it'll automatically trigger this event that is the point of no return for the end of the game at that point. Or it scans your journal. And if you don't have any like mission critical missions left, it'll just start it. So I was like, okay, cool. I have 2 missions that I want to do left, and then I'm good to go. So I'll do those 2. I'm going to do this mission now, do the last 2 missions that I have to do. There's 1 more that will unlock after that fact that I want to do, and then I'll just have to do 1 side mission, and then I'll be good to go. The problem is I didn't realize, because I knew this, but what I didn't know was that DLC content does not count towards that. So 2 of the missions I wanted to do were the loyalty missions for the DLC characters. So I did one of them and then it triggered and I was like, oh no, like I still have to do this other thing. Crap. So I did this whole mission for no reason and then had to reload it and like do some stuff in a different order so that it wouldn't trigger. And then I went and it was like,
that's
okay.
Ridiculous.
And it was my fault. Like I knew this had happened and I like, if I had not like been so aggressive about finishing side quests, it would have been fine. But I was like, okay, I want to make sure I have everything that I really want to do done. And then I just left those last 2 things. And I was like, oh, shit. And granted, I don't really care about the DLC characters in that game. So, like, if I didn't get their loyalty missions and they die, it's like, whatever. But, like, I was just like, oh, no. So I had to do a little bit of, like save scrubbing and stuff. Because I backed myself into a bit of a corner, but I was able to complete all of the missions that I cared about doing prior to the final push.
And I was going to say, it doesn't really matter, like, who cares if you come up to the end of the game, but it does matter because it's Mass Effect 2, and that leads into Mass Effect 3, so those repercussions are going to be following you on if you don't do the missions. Yeah.
So it's like, if a character who's like, oh, this character's a companion in the 3rd game, you might want to make sure that they like you. Like, oh, okay. Shit. So yeah, I landed the plane there, and I'm very pleased. I was glad to wrap it up because the last couple times I played, I've been kind of like, do I want to end the game yet? And I'm like, nah, not yet. I want to do this thing. I want to do that thing. And I finally got to the point where I had like 4 or 5 side quests, and they were all like bullshit. Like they were just like, oh, go smuggle this package for this person, or go fucking pick this. And I was like, I don't care about doing any of this stuff. Like it was all like, low level stuff that I like was kind of like ambivalent about doing anyway,
Yeah.
Because one of them was like a thing that I was like, this doesn't feel like a thing that my shepherd would do. So I was like, I'm not gonna do it. So I hit the point where I'm like, okay, I'm emotionally ready for it to be over. And it's funny because I wasn't planning on, I was planning on finishing it a lot earlier, but the other game that I've been playing has taken a unsettling amount of my time.
I noticed this when you got frankly outraged on Twitter yesterday about a specific character being nerfed in the game. And I was like, wow, Pete really got in deep on this free-to-play game. And I never expected it to happen.
So that game is, of course, Pokémon Unite, which I think a lot of people are very into right now. I see a lot of folks in our community and friends of the show and stuff like that have been playing a lot of it. I am fucking obsessed with this game. I love it. And it's kind of weird because when it was announced, I was very lukewarm. I was very okay, Pokemon MOBA feels like 10 years too late. It's like the MOBA craze has already come and gone. How good is this going to be? It's being made with the mobile audience and the Chinese market in mind. I don't know. Is this going to be a game that appeals to me, or is this going to be one of those games that feels like a MOBA that's just trying to cash in on an IP? Mm-hmm. And I didn't pick it up. It dropped on July 21st. Yeah. And that was the week that I was recording, and then I was in DC, and I was all over the place, and I didn't have time to pick it up. So I didn't check it out until I had a few friends who had already jumped in and, gave me some positive buzz about it, but I hadn't really heard anything else. And now, in preparation for this conversation, I opened up, I wanted to see what the general critical response was to it, and I can't believe what an outlier I am. Because the Metacritic score is it's got a 69 on Metacritic, IGN gave it a 6. It's gotten a lot of criticism because, it's a free-to-play game and there is in-game currency, and one of the things that you can spend in-game currency on are items that are things that you give your character to boost your stats. And each of those items starts at level 1, and there's a progression system from 1 to, I think it goes up to 30, but it's 1, 10, and 20 are the big levels that give you a big boost. That's where it'll have additional, that's the next big benchmark, each of the individual levels gives it a boost, but it's 10 and 20 are the two big ones. So because you can spend real money on that, and you could, theoretically, if you wanted to drop a bunch of money, you could max out all those items day one, and have a competitive advantage. People are oh, this game's pay to win and it's garbage. And, I gotta say, I disagree because, yes, you can argue that makes it pay to win. Sure. But for my money, as someone who's put 30 to 40 hours into this game already, maybe more, at low levels of play, most people are not good and don't really know how to play and don't really understand the flow of a MOBA. So I don't know. I feel a lot of those players, even if they were going through the trouble of maxing out their items, the amount of advantage that they're getting over me as somebody who's playing a lot and just leveling up my items through natural progression, I gotta say, it's not really been impacting my ability to win matches, or anything like that. I don't know. I'm a pretty experienced MOBA player, but I've never been great. The best I ever was in League of Legends was I got to gold in rank, which is not very high. That's you're better than not
that
good.
Sounds very high. I've been seeing some of the Olympics, and that sounds
it's pretty good. Well, in league ranking, it goes bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then pro. You're one of the best players if you're on the next level, right? So
so I'd say that's pretty good. I would imagine most people don't get above bronze.
It's pretty good.
A casual player.
It's middle of the pack though. I'm not an expert at MOBAs by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't know. As long as I have a team that's playing in the roles that they're supposed to play and everyone's doing what they're supposed to do, I'm cleaning up. I'm getting multiple double kills in a game. I've gotten a couple pentakills already where I literally kill the entire other team maybe not by myself, but maybe I've got one other person on my side backing me up or some shit like that. It's nuts. Like, and that's what I'm saying is like, I don't feel like that gap is so recognizable. And like, I think at higher tiers of play, you definitely are going to want to have those items maxed out, like no question. But like,
will you naturally get those items anyway? Because it sounds like you probably are going to. Yeah,
that's the thing is every one of the items, or almost every one, you can unlock for free by completing like daily quests or doing like they have like a thing where they have beginner dailies for 14 days or 7 days, I think it is. Where like you'll unlock one of them or you get some of them from leveling up. Like you can get all of them for free and then you can upgrade all of them for free. Like I haven't spent any money to upgrade those items. I have spent some money on the game. I spent $8 because they're doing a thing right now where at any of the, cause they have a few different levels that you can buy currency at. It's like $1, $5, $8, whatever, right? For the cheapest ones, which I think are 1, 5, 8, and maybe 20 or something like that. Each of those, if you buy them, they're giving you double the points. So if you spend $8, you're getting $16 worth. If you spend 20, you're getting 40 worth. So I spent $8 so that I could get the season pass and like engage with the season 1 content and unlock new stuff. And you know, there's like a bunch of like wearable stuff, like you can customize how your character looks and all that kind of shit. So I did that.
Fortnite really made that season pass thing just a standard across the industry, right?
Yeah. So they did that. I bid on that because I was having fun with the game and I wanted something else to be pursuing. And if you finish the season, you get a skin for Syndrans, who's one of the Pokemon that I main. So I was like, oh, this is a great skin. I want to get that skin.
Are they committing to what Fortnite did and only having season pass stuff within the season pass, and those items that you'll get for completing the season you can't just buy at a shop further down the line?
That I'm not sure of. It kind of seems that way. Because I know
that's cool, and that's like a real incentive to play and show, you know, I was here right at the beginning. I completed season 1. Look at what I managed to do.
I think that's the case, but correct me if I'm wrong, listeners. But I got it because if you buy it, you immediately get a hip hop Pikachu skin where he's got like a little hoodie and like a hat and it's super cute.
Of course.
And then the last one is the Syndrant skin. So I mean, if I complete this season and I get 2 skins for $4 a piece, like plus all the other stuff you get in between, it's really not a bad deal. At least for my money, because I'm really enjoying playing the game and I want things to do and reasons to keep jumping in and playing.
If you were worried about that and you didn't want to pay anything, you don't have to then in order to reach a decent level. Like you haven't paid for any of the pay to win stuff?
No. So the only other thing, so then after that, I've been playing for 2 weeks now, and I've literally played every single day since I started playing, because I've been doing the dailies every day. I'm playing for at least an hour to 2 hours every night.
On your Switch, I presume.
Yeah, that's the only place you can play it right now. It's not out on mobile and iOS until September, I think. And like I've been playing with my buddy Ken. I've been playing with my buddy Andy. Like I've got a date to go play with some of my friends. I'm playing with Sean from the Comics Pals and Tyler from the Comics Pals later, which is my other podcast. So like I'm in and I'm having a blast. So after I'd been playing for a week or whatever, like so on Saturday into Sunday. So Saturday night, Sarah was away, and my plan was to sit and finish Mass Effect 2. And instead, I sat down and played like one game of Unite because I was like, oh, I want to get my dailies and then I'm going to just play Mass Effect. And then my buddy Ken saw that I was online and invited me to a party. And we literally we're like, oh yeah, let's play for like an hour or two. And then he's like, I got to go to bed. And we played until 3 a.m. And then I went to bed, and then I woke up the next day. I had the house to myself. I made myself breakfast. I sat down and turned on Mass Effect 2, and I was like, I'm going to finish Mass Effect 2. And then Ken sent me a message, and he's like, fuck, like I just lost this game. And he sent me a screenshot, and I was like, oh, you playing right now? And he's like, yeah, I have a problem. And I was like, yo, motherfucker, what's up? Why didn't you hit me up? Let's go. And we played for 3 more hours the next day. So like I'm here, man. Like I think this game is fantastic. I think it's so fun. And after the second day of playing 3 hours with him, I spent another $20 and got $40 of the currency and just bought a bunch of characters because I was like, I want to try this character. God. I want to try that character. I want to try that character. So now I've got a ton of like I'm $30 ish in, $28 in. I'm ready to spend a lot more money on this game. I'm loving it, and I don't feel bad about the microtransactions. I really don't. Like I think some people, no matter what, microtransactions just rub them the wrong way. if I was in charge of making decisions, I would definitely make it so that you could only spend microtransactions on characters or on cosmetic things. I think those are the only things you should be able to get. But I also got to say, like, I don't really feel like I don't know. I don't feel like those items are impacting casual play enough for it to be like a pay to win game that it's like, oh, you have to spend money or you're never going to win. It's like, I mean, I win most of the games that I play and I'm not doing that, So your mileage may vary there, but I think for me, I think a lot of that criticism feels like someone who's like a single issue voter, right? Where it's like, I don't care about the context. Microtransactions are bad. It's just like, I don't know. I just
to some extent, but I also think probably it also comes from people who maybe haven't played the game, but have seen that some of the complaints are,
sure.
You buy this and you can get better. Like if you haven't played it and you don't know that you can't climb that ladder, because I've seen a couple of people talking about it, and someone's written in, we'll get to later on, about pay to win, and I kind of heard that and wanted to pick your brains a little bit about it. So
well, here, let's ask the question.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, let's do it then.
So I'll pull this question from the question block. So this comes from Olaf from the Discord, who wrote in and said, what is your opinion about the pay-to-win aspect of Pokemon Unite? There's so much backlash about upgrading items with real money so attacks become more powerful. And with pay-to-win in general, is it a business model that is understandable with a free-to-play game, or developers need to include ways to avoid the pay-to-win by implementing ways to grind / etc.? So I think, yeah. So to start, I'll say I think that some of the conversation around the pay-to-win elements of Pokemon Unite are overblown. That's my top level opinion. I understand that criticism, but as somebody who's put a ton of time into the game, and like I said, it hasn't impacted my own experience, it's hard for me to be bothered by it, because I don't really see it. I don't see it impacting me in the 40 hours that I've played, and I'm like trying to grind and climb the ladder and stuff like that, and I'm not having trouble with that. So, someone else might have a different experience and might feel differently about that, which is fair to say. So I don't want to, decry that, people who I respect who have voiced that opinion. I just don't necessarily agree. And with pay to win in general, I don't know. I think like with the free to play thing, like microtransactions are understandable in a free to play game. Obviously a free to play game needs to be able to generate money. Microtransactions are a way to do that. I don't have any problem with free-to-play games having microtransactions or season passes or any of that stuff at all. I really don't. With the pay-to-win thing, I think I take issue with that when it's clearly done because they don't want you to grind. That's where it bothers me, right? Like if I felt like, yeah, man, I've been playing this game for 40 hours and I don't have one of these items fully upgraded, right? Then I would be like, that's bullshit. That's not fair. They want you to...
I can't even think of an example other than my recent memory, other than Star Wars Battlefront 2, where it got quickly removed and labeled as a mistake. I genuinely can't think of another pay-to-win game. I mean, maybe Genshin Impact has some of that stuff.
The last one that comes to mind for me is, and I know that this is like, I don't even want to bring them up right now, but Diablo 3 had that auction house that they got rid of like right away.
They did, but that I do think was less pay-to-win and more we want to stop the black market that was happening at the time. Like they were doing it on eBay and people were selling shit and getting scammed. So that was kind of their way to get around it, but it ended up fucking the game up big time because the whole point of that game is to get loot.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. I think the examples of it actually being that problematic are probably pretty few and far between, at least in terms of games that people really care about. But that's probably why, right? So I think maybe that's part of why.
Yeah, it's going to come up pretty early in testing. It's like, well, what's the point? I've been playing this, I can't get anything, and then if I paid £100, then I would be able to win a match. It's just not fun. No one would get into it. No one would play those games, I don't think.
And it's probably because this game is with Pokemon and it's so mainstream and it's getting so much attention. Like that's why there's this increased attention on it during this conversation. Which is fine, like it is what it is. But I personally don't feel like it's a problem. And it hasn't hampered my enjoyment of the game. And I think there's a really good chance I'm going to be playing this game like indefinitely. Like for a really long time. I think the biggest.
I thought that with Fortnite. I put like 400 hours in, and then something happened, and I just fell off, and I don't even remember. I think it was everyone started playing Apex Legends for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I'm not interested in playing that. And then they all came out to Fortnite, and by the time they came out to Fortnite, I was like, I'm done with that.
And like, who knows? That might happen. Like, if the friends I'm playing with lose interest, and I don't have people to play with, like that might hamper my desire to play. But the thing is, I'm mostly playing it by myself, so I don't know. I think you're gonna have to hear me talk about this game a lot for a while. So I hope.
So this is your Smash Bros, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like AJ.
I'll tell you this: the first day I started playing the game, or maybe the day after I started playing it, I was sitting in the room with Sarah playing it, and she was like, seems like you're really getting into it. And I was like, oh, I'm going pro. And she goes, is that a thing? Like, is there like a esports community around this game? And I was like, not yet, but I'm going to be its first fucking star, baby. But yeah, for real, like I'm trying to like climb the rank. Like I want to get a team together. Like I'm fucking here for this game right now. I love it. And I'm really excited in September when they bring out the mobile version, because they've said that they want to do crossplay. So it's like, oh my god, I'm just gonna body fucking kids trying to play this on mobile.
The control's not suited to mobile. Do you think? You think it needs a handheld controller?
Maybe not needs it, but I think if I'm able to play on Switch and they're playing on mobile, I feel like they're going to be limited in the same way that like you can play Fortnite on mobile, but like I feel like you have an advantage if you're playing on PC, you know? Like
You've seen you are. And it was like that when they first brought Fortnite out on Switch for like 3 months. You were teamed in with the like crossplay community for the consoles. And then they switched it to only mobile because they realized everyone was just destroying them, because everyone else is playing at like 60 frames per second plus.
Like, this isn't fair.
And you're like there on like 30 frames a second and the draw distance is fuck all. It's like, yeah, this is just not a fair match at all.
Yeah, so I'm imagining that'll be pretty similar when this happens. But yeah, I'm really stoked. It's cool to be in on a MOBA this early too, because like I started playing League in like season 2. So I wasn't there at the very beginning, but I was there like pretty early on. And to see how much that game evolved and changed over the last several years, like if this game can maintain momentum and stay popular, I think it's got a really, a bright future ahead of it, because like it does a lot of things that are really innovative for the MOBA genre. And I know that like you don't have a lot of experience with MOBAs, so like some of this will probably be kind of like moot to you, but like one of the things that I really like about it that's different is all of the all of the game modes are time based. So like most MOBAs, like League for example, right? The way that you win is there are 3 lanes, and each lane has 2 towers, and then you have interior towers, and then you have like that's like the other team's base. And then they have a nexus, which is like the thing in the center of your base. So the way that you win is you destroy the nexus. So you have to at least get through one whole lane of towers and then get into their base and destroy the thing at the center. And that's how you win the game. So that could take 20 minutes. That could take 45 minutes. I've had games that went over an hour. Like it takes as long as it takes.
You really don't know where you are, and you've got to commit to being there for like a long period of time.
Yeah, so like being like, all right, I'll play one more game could mean, okay, I'm going to be done in 10 minutes, or it could mean I'm going to be done in over an hour from now, which is pretty intense. The main mode, like the main like 5v5 game mode is every match is only 10 minutes. And then they have short matches that have different maps and different objectives. They play differently. Like the flow of those games is like totally different in some cases. One of them is similar to the main game. It's just smaller. And then there's 2 other ones that are like totally different game modes. And they rotate every day, which is cool. It's kind of like got that Splatoon thing going on. And those are only 5 minutes. And the way that you like win the game is like rather than having towers, you have goals basically, and you have to like go and score points. So if you score the most points by the end of your 10 or 5 minute match, your team wins. So I like that about it because even if you have a game where you're getting your teeth kicked in, it's not going to last that long. You know, like it's never like, oh, I have to sit here and get my shit kicked in for 45 minutes because my team refuses to surrender, but we're not playing well enough to beat them, only to stop them from winning. You know, like we're not moving forward. We're just defending every time. Like, and that's not fun. Like that gets frustrating after a while. Like I had a game the other night where it was like from the minute we started, we were just getting decimated. Like the team wasn't playing well together. We had a bad comp. They were just outclassing us, period. And within a minute or two, I was like, we fucking lost. We're not going to win this. And it was a short match, so I was like, well, the game's already half over. So it doesn't matter, right? Like, even if I'm stuck playing this for 2-3 more minutes, I know I get to just roll again in a few minutes and I'll be back in. And a ton of people are playing, so there's, like, no wait for queues. Like, you click, I'm ready, and then it's like, as soon as you say you're ready to play, you're in a lobby and you can start playing. Like, it moves so quick. The online is really good. Almost no slowdown. Like, I'm not seeing frame dips or anything like that. Like, it runs...
Any voice chat?
No, there isn't any voice chat. The only way that you can communicate with other players is they have, like, a quick menu. So you can, like, press up, and it has, like, a bunch of pre-made messages of, like, I'm going to go top. I need help. Like, come defend with me. Like, I'm going to go do this. And whenever you start taking an objective or get in a fight where you're defending a base, it does a thing on the screen that tells everybody. So, like, say we're playing against each other and you come to score on me and I block your shot, it'll say, Loud Pete is defending the base. And then it'll show you on the mini-map, here, he needs help, you know, and you can, you know. So it does a pretty good job of communicating for you and making it so that you can easily communicate, like, with quick messages. But the problem is a lot of the players just don't know how to play. Like, they don't know how MOBAs work. So, like, you'll have a situation where, like, generally the way that you want to play is have 2 people go top, 2 people go bottom, and 1 person go jungle. And a lot of teams that I end up on that lose are because nobody jungles. Like, somebody picks a jungler and then goes into another lane and just splits the experience, and then that lane doesn't level up as quickly, and then you fucking lose. And it's really frustrating.
Did the game not do a very good job of explaining any of this? I presume there is some kind of tutorial or introduction to what MOBA is.
But I feel like MOBAs are definitely a game style that, like, you kind of need to learn by playing. Because, like, you can learn the basics, but if they're like, oh, like, these are the basics, but you don't learn about the meta, you're not going to be good. Like, you need to understand, like, you need to be able to look at your team and be like, oh, okay, like, we have 4 attackers and a support. We really need a defender, right? Like, somebody needs to play defense. And then you need to know how to play that role and play it well, you know? And everybody needs to understand what the rules and what their roles are and how they're supposed to play. And I think there are a lot of probably first-time players, like a lot of people who've never touched a MOBA before, so they don't really know the finer points of, like, jungling. Whereas, like, me, I played League for, like, the last 10 years almost. So, like, I've gotten in the habit of when I see my team, like, nobody's being the jungler, I'm like, I'll be the jungler. And I'll go and play it the right way. And then we win most times because you're playing the roles right, you know? So yeah, there's like definitely like a learning curve. Like there's some stuff you need to figure out on your own. I think that the game does an adequate job of communicating the basic rules, but that's kind of the problem is that like the way that you are going to play that game when you first start playing versus when you've been playing for 10 hours versus when you've been playing for 30 hours, it's going to be a lot different, you know? Because the more matches you play, the more you're like, oh, this is how that character works. Okay. You know, oh, okay.
Well, you learn the characters and then you also learn the strategies and the win strategies. When you see other people doing certain things, you know how to win against it. I mean, that's the same with any kind of game. Yeah.
Any game that has like a meta, you know? Yeah, like you need to know who the best characters are. You need to know, oh, okay, this character counters that character really well, you know? Because like I've experienced that where there's some people who definitely know what they're doing. Like I was playing a game with my friend Ken the other night, and we were fucking bodying the people we were playing against in our lane. So they did a lane switch because they had a Pokemon on their team that hard countered the Pokemon I was playing as. So they moved him down into my lane, and I couldn't kill him. So we were just in a stalemate for like 20 minutes, you know, or not 20 minutes, you know, they don't last that long, but like most of the match, Nobody was scoring. We were just fighting, and nobody was doing anything. You know, so like there's that element to it, but you'll learn those things as you play, right? Yeah, I'm so into this game. I really fucking love it. I really do.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. You should definitely stream it. If not with me, stream it on your own. I'm sure you'll be able to rope some people.
Sierra said she would stream it with me,
yeah.
and I know AJ's playing it, so I'm hoping maybe I can rope them in and try to rustle.
Yeah, and can you like matchmake and do a proper team that way then? Like if you had like a group, how many is it? 4?
5. Well, 4 if you're doing quick battles, but
okay. So if you got a group of 5 together, then you could do like a battle. Yeah. And no one would be able to beat you because you'd all know what you're doing and communicating through voice chat.
That's what me and my friend Ken have been saying every time we've played together. It's like, bro, if we had one more person on our team, like if we had 3 out of the 5 players we control, it's like we'll win. We'll win every fucking game. Because it's every game we lose, it's bad communication. It's like, why are you doing this, teammate? Like I had this one ranked game. I was so mad. I set my team up to win. I scored a bunch of points, and I killed someone on their team, and I died for it, so that the other person on my team who had been fighting with me could score, and we would win the game. And there were like 20 seconds left on the clock. Rather than scoring, they turned around and went to the middle of the map and started to try to get an objective. And I was like, you clearly aren't looking at the clock. You clearly don't realize that the match is about to end, and you're throwing the fucking game. And then we lost by 10 points.
Oh, no.
I was just like, you absolute asshole. You absolute asshole.
Did you rage quit?
I know. I was just like, I'm going to play again. I'm going to do another game, you know?
No, I couldn't. I've had matches like that in Splatoon, and I've just had to put the switch down and walk away because I know I would get way too angry.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going pro in this game. I'm going to stream it every day. It's going to be my full-time job, so I hope you'll support me. Twitch.tv/FlipScreen.
What's it going to be?
Games.
The Pokemon League.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's what they'll call it. Pokemon Unite Pro League.
They definitely should.
Pro-Am.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure we're going to talk about this game more in the weeks to come. So I hope y'all are enjoying it. I hope you're playing it. If you've got thoughts or opinions or questions about it, definitely write in. And we'll be talking about it probably again on Nintendo Noise. So, shoot your thoughts.
I know for a fact we will be because we've got a question about it.
Okay, there we go, baby. So get ready to listen to me talk about this game every week on both shows forever.
Don't worry. I'll rein him in. I'll steer the ship a little bit back towards other games at some point.
I appreciate that. All right, so let's keep things rolling in the question block. This next one comes from our Patreon producer, Wakahula, who wrote in and said, "You've mentioned Triple Click many times on the pod. Do you listen to any other gaming-related podcasts, and are there any that you'd recommend outside of the mainstream ones like IGN's podcasts or Kinda Funny?" I love the idea that Kinda Funny is like a mainstream podcast because they're not that big.
It definitely is mainstream. When he shows up and does like EA Plays presenting and stuff, they're pretty mainstream.
But I think that's because Greg Miller used to be the face of IGN. You know, like not because Kinda Funny is like huge, you know? Like go look at their YouTube channel, you know? Like they've only got like 300,000 not that that's nothing, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, Kinda Funny is my go-to. They're my favorite podcast group. So I listen to all of their gaming stuff pretty much. So they have PS I Love You, which is their PlayStation show. The XCast is their Xbox show, and then I listen to the Kinda Funny Games Cast, which is like just the weekly game show. So yeah, those are my favorites. But other ones that I really enjoy, they're on break right now, but What's Good Games is really great. Andrea Renee, Brittany Bromrocker, and Christine Steimer are on that show. So it's a cast of all women, so it's definitely, a little bit different than some of the other gaming podcasts out there. 3 ladies
wasn't it Brittany that presented the Capcom thing at E3,
yeah,
right?
Brittany Bromrocker, Blonde Nerd. So. Yeah, she's great. I'm a huge fan of Andrea. I that's like was my big inroad. She used to work with Kinda Funny, and I've been following her career for years. And Brittany and Christine are also both really knowledgeable and super funny, and they have pretty similar tastes in games to me. Like they're all big BioWare stands and shit like that. So I always dig their conversations as well. Who else is a good one to rec? You got any other ones?
Yeah, so I listen to MinMax every now and again.
Oh yeah.
I used to like every single week I would listen to the Game Informer show, and then obviously they had mass layoffs. Ben Hansen left and started MinMax with a bunch of former Game Informer crew. And that channel is absolutely worth checking out. They always have great exclusive interviews. They've always got a great take on things. They do loads of different shows, so they're really fun. No Clip have a great podcast. It's
I didn't know
very
they had a podcast.
infrequent at the moment. Yeah, so they do interviews with smaller studios who they don't really have time or can't really invest the time to do a full video about. So the last one they released was actually December 2020. I don't think they've been able to get around places, which was about Grindstone and Capybara Games.
I love Grindstone.
So, yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. That interview is really, really interesting. So No Clip is absolutely worth checking out. Aside from that, I don't really listen to any. I used to listen to a podcast called Playing for Fun, but that kind of got they've stopped making episodes. That was really interesting. It was like someone who was really into games and someone who wasn't that massively into games, and they would play games together, and it was just like playing fun. And like he was trying to introduce her into like games that were like less intense, so like Plants vs Zombies or like Stardew Valley, stuff like that. And it was good to get like that kind of perspective from it. But outside of that, I listened to a bunch of non-gaming stuff, which I won't go into. But there was a couple of YouTube channels I also want to point out. Like, definitely check out our friends Fanax4 and their podcast directly.
Yeah, I was going to say directly to you is
which we're on this week.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already, listen to that one. We're on
last
it with
Friday's
Parker.
episode.
Yeah, we haven't recorded it yet.
No,
so we don't know what we said.
But by the time you're listening to this, it's already up.
We will have, yeah. Yeah, so that's a weird mind fuck. And Thomas Game Docs is like a relatively new channel, I think, but has kind of exploded recently. It's that channel I told you to recommend check out with the like digging into why Peach's voice changed.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to watch
inspiration for Zelda and stuff. Really interesting. He does like one every couple of weeks. Usually Nintendo focused. I would recommend if you're interested in that kind of thing, then definitely check them out. But yeah, that's probably it I can think of anyway.
The only other one I wanted to call out, I haven't listened to a lot of it, but Play Watch Listen is Alana Pierce's podcast with it's Mike Bithell, Troy Baker, and one other person who I cannot remember, and I apologize for that.
Is she still doing that now? She's at Sony?
Yep. Yeah, she's still doing
that's cool.
Yeah, it's still been going. And I'm not like up to date on it, but the few that I've listened to I enjoyed, and I really like Alana's work. So that's another one worth shouting out for sure. But of course, the only gaming podcasts you need are ours. These other chuckleheads. Come on, you kidding me? FlipScreen Games, baby. We got 3 podcasts a week now, Wakahula. You got to listen to all 3 of them. You think you have time for all these other nerds? Come on.
There's a lot of hours in a week, Pete, you know.
Fair enough. What I'm hearing is we need to make more podcasts then.
Yeah. Most definitely do.
Well, and I'll say this too, Wakahula. I'll do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. If you read comic books or like comic book, like movie stuff, go check out my stuff with the Comic Spells. That's I've been doing that podcast for 5 or 6 years now. I don't know. I'm fucking old as shit, but go check it out. We're great. Okay, so this next one comes from Trendy Brenny, another one of our Patreon supporters, who wrote in and said, let's start the podcast off right. Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis? I mean...
So, I know where I'm going.
I know where I'm going. And it ain't... I gotta say, it ain't even a competition. It's the Super Nintendo. You kidding me?
It's the Genesis.
Absolutely Genesis. Here we go, baby. All right, cool. So what I'm hearing, Steve, is that you're very susceptible to marketing, and I like good video games.
Wow, okay. Who had blast processing? That's all I've got to say.
Yo, Mode 7. What's up, okay?
Yeah. Do you know, looking back at it from like a different perspective, I could definitely see that the SNES was the better console. It had the better sound chip. It did 3D in
The Genesis sound chip is legit though. I won't take that away from
on
it.
the high definition version,
Yeah.
yes, but then they like cheaped out, and the later versions, like the Genesis 2, it went naff as fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. No shade at like Sega. I'm just kind of kidding. But like, I feel like Sega as a console manufacturer is way more interesting historically. Like, and for the console war between Sega and Nintendo and the marketing and all that stuff, like that, the story of it is far more interesting to me than most of the games that they had, you know? And like, don't get me wrong.
I don't know. I loved a bit of Sonic, and
Yeah.
I think
I like the first couple Sonic games.
they had Mortal Kombat with blood. You know,
Yeah, I
you
was
can
gonna
get that
say.
on the SNES.
I was going to say there are examples of games that are definitively better on the Genesis. Mortal Kombat is the one that came to mind for me as well. But I mean, come on. You know, it's like you look at the Super Nintendo, like I think most, if not most of the ones that appeal to me anyway, of the best games of that era are games on the Super Nintendo.
They are, but say you came at it from a different like angle, as I love arcade games.
Sure.
And you want Sega's arcade games at home, the Genesis was the way to go for that.
Sure.
But you know, and looking at it now, the SNES is the better console. But I have a soft spot for the Mega Drive. I loved the Sega Mega Drive.
That's the one even before the Genesis.
No, it's not. We called the Genesis the Mega Drive, and the Master System was the one before the Genesis.
No, you're right. Okay, my bad. I forgot about that.
I loved my Mega Drive. It was great. I didn't have any of the attachments. And that's the other thing I love about the Genesis is like, let's put 32X on. Let's do the Mega CD. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's like, all of a sudden you've got this like big Frankenstein's monster just to play a single game. This is ridiculous.
So nuts.
And all of that was because the Saturn was just a massive failure.
Yeah. Yes, it was. You can thank Sony for that one. All right, so this one comes from Affy, another one of our Patreon supporters, who said, what upcoming indie games do you both have your eyes on? A bunch.
So I don't know if you like in memory, Sports Story, the game footage for, I think it's called Eastward, came out this week. Oh my God, that game looks gorgeous. And 12 Minutes, which I cannot actually believe is this month.
Finally coming out, yeah.
And I'm so excited for it. I genuinely am so excited for that. And where the hell is Witchbrook? You know, that game, the like Harry Potter meets Stardew Valley game?
Yeah.
That's seemingly been in development forever over at Chucklefish. I've been excited for that forever because it's like a Harry Potter game that's not associated with Harry Potter.
Right. Yeah, I both of those are ones that I have my eye on. 7 seconds. Right? That's what
12 minutes.
12 minutes. Sorry. That's another game I'm thinking of. 12 minutes is probably the one I feel like I'm most excited for. I've been very excited for that for a while. Skatebird is another one that I'm looking forward to. We'll see if it actually makes it out this year.
You're absolutely ridiculous that you're excited for that game. I genuinely just don't get it.
Why?
I think you're going to be so disappointed by it. You know, you were excited about that before Tony Hawk was announced, right?
Yeah.
You've played Tony Hawk now. You know what a good skate game feels like. You're going to play Skatebird, and it's going to be terrible.
How do you know it's going to feel bad?
Time.
Don't just watch because it's an indie. You're a hater.
Because it's a bird.
Nah, it's adorable, and its entire soundtrack is lo-fi hip hop. I have to give it a shot.
And I know Chew is going to be into it because it's birds.
If I don't show up for this game, who will? You know,
I think quite a lot of people were into it. I just didn't get it. But then I never really played skate games anyway, and I can skate, and I don't really like birds, so it really has nothing going for it for me.
And there's like a bunch of other ones that are like on my radar, but I'm not. I don't know, like to varying degrees. Like we've seen like Goodbye Volcano High, which like I feel like I could potentially be interested in. Like there's definitely a lot of indie games that are kind of imminent right now that have my interest.
Bear and Breakfast. Remember Bear and Breakfast? I've been excited about that one since they
Yeah.
showed it as well, which looks so good.
Yeah, I definitely I'm into that. What's that? What's that other one? The open road one? What's it called?
I know which one you're on about, but
It's like
it
root
slipped my mind.
something. I can't quite remember. Um oh Jesus. It's not open roads. That's the one from Fulbright. I'm also interested in that. That's the one that has like the drawn style.
Oh, that's the one I thought you were on about.
It's another one. It's like the I can't quite remember. I think it's called like Route 66 maybe or something like that. But I don't know. It's the one that's somebody at home is like screaming. Like Doc is probably like screaming right now. Um
Road 96.
That's
good.
it. That's it. I think Road 96. Yeah, which is like it's story, but it's like random generating, and it kind of reminds me of that game I played with Ashley Birch, like as the Diderot dog racer. Like it seems like it's kind of like that.
You know, you haven't got to wait long for it, Pete. It's out on the 16th, so it's out next week is the time this airs.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And there's a demo on Steam if that's your bag.
Nice. So yeah, like that's one I definitely am interested in. There's like Mineko's Night Market, which is one that's kind of
I've been waiting for that forever.
for so
and I'm
long
kinda
now,
just
and I'm
over
like,
it at this point.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing is like I could still see that coming out and being something I'm interested in. It depends. Like I don't know that it'll catch me at the same way now, but
Yeah.
Weird
Card
West.
Shark was it? Weird West. What's that one?
Weird West was another one I was interested in. That one's it's made by Wolfeye Studios, and it's like a fantasy game set in the Wild West, and it's like an isometric like top-down RPG, and it's made from one of the founders of Wolfeye is the co-creator of Dishonored, so you know that your boy's got to check that out.
It does look really cool.
It looks sick.
But yeah, the last one I can remember from the previous indie highlights was Card Shark, which was the follow-up to Reigns, and I was really excited about that because I loved Reigns so much when I played that.
Reigns. Yeah, Reigns was sick. And that's the thing is like I feel like there are more indie games right now on my radar than non-indie games. Like Tunic is imminent. I'm really excited about that. This is already out, so it might be cheating, but like Death's Door just came out.
Definitely cheating.
I've heard that game whips though, so like I really want to pick that up.
It's on Game Pass.
It's not on Game Pass.
I thought it was.
No, it's on Xbox, but I don't think it's on Game Pass.
Okay.
Because I looked day one and I was like, is this a Game Pass game?
I was sure it was Game Pass, but I'm probably wrong.
Unfortunately, Death's Door will not be available on Xbox Game Pass at launch.
Fair enough. It's definitely worth buying though. This is the one by two people, made by two people, and it looks just absolutely incredible.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
It's so funny. They were talking about it on one of the Kind of Funny shows recently, and like they were talking about how there are a lot of people who are like, "Oh, it's not actually made by two people. They outsource some of it." And it's like, yeah, to like four other people. So it's like, okay, so the vast majority of the work was done by two people, and then they had help from like a few extra animators or whatever. It's like it's still really impressive, guys. This game looks insane. But yeah, that one was on my radar, but it jumped up once I heard all the positive buzz about it. I think if I wasn't into Unite as much as I am, I probably would have bought it. Because I was looking for like an arcadey, like more gameplay oriented game.
I kind of feel like if it was on Switch, I'd have bought it.
I think I would too. Because it's not that I don't want to play it on Xbox. It just feels like a Switch game to me.
I want to lie in bed and play it.
Yeah.
Do you know the other one that I actually think might actually be out? Yeah, it is out. It came out last month and I totally missed it. It was Last Stop, which was that one that very much looked like you make decisions and it had those like lights things that went through. You make choices and stuff. It was very much like one of those like games. I can't genuinely the name slip me. Tell me why.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. I don't remember.
You'll remember the trailer if you see it. It's like that one where you had the light and then it like zoomed in. Annapurna like published, so it's probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah, it's got a weird art style, but I do remember being interested.
Very weird art style.
A little stiff, but I like games.
Yeah, and it's out, so I don't know if it's any good.
Metacritic looks like it's at like a 70, so it's probably okay.
Middle of the road, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's probably others that I'm not even thinking of right now. I made a list earlier this year about like, oh, these are all the indie games I want to like keep track of. So I know we have a main topic planned to like go through all of the games that are scheduled for the rest of the year and kind of like gauge our hype level and maybe make some predictions about their Metacritic score and stuff like that. So we'll have a full deep dive on all the games that we're really stoked for the rest of the year, probably in the next week or so. So keep your eyes peeled for that one.
Are we going to put bets on it like Bethesda did with the Metacritic score for Fallout New Vegas? And then not give people their bonuses that they rightly deserve?
That's what we'll do, yeah. And I think
because it was 1 percentage point below.
Steve, that's perfect. You know what we'll do? We'll set them all, and the loser of the bet doesn't get their bonus this year.
I like that, yeah.
All right, so this is going to be our last question for the day, and then we'll call it here. So this one comes from Zaid, who wrote in to me at questions at flipscreen.games, just like you can, and wrote in and said, "Hey, Steve and Pete. First off, congratulations on the start of your new platform. Being a fan of you guys for so long, I'm happy to see you both taking steps in the right direction, and I can't wait to see what you guys do for the future of FlipScreen games. Now for the fun part, which is the question for this inaugural episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. My question for you guys is this. Do you ever look at games differently as the time since you've last played it keeps getting longer? As an example for me, it's the recent Final Fantasy VII Remake that has me asking this question. I loved that game when it first came out, but it's been over a year since I played it now, and I find myself not remembering the parts I liked about it, rather the parts I don't like about it coming into my head more often. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait to see you guys reinvent the gaming podcasting wheel with this new platform. P.S. Would this be a Zaid email if I didn't ask Steve to play Persona 5? Play it, Steve! The FlipScreen Games number one.
Persona 5.
Let me finish. The FlipScreen Games number one hype man, Zaydita. Okay, now you can reply.
I played Persona 5, just not all of it.
I'm going to finish it.
Yeah, you know that PlayStation 4 is never getting turned on again.
Here's the thing,
Steve. Collecting dust on my TV stand.
I think the move is when you get a PS5, we get you
I know
Royal.
What the move is. No. The move is when I get my Steam Deck, I download Persona 5 Royal, and I play it handheld on a console that finally fucking should.
What?
It should be on a handheld console.
Play it on a
this
Steam
game.
Deck? What's wrong with you?
I played Persona 5, Persona 4 on a handheld, and it's way superior to playing it on a TV.
Okay, whatever. That's fine, I guess. Whatever. Anyway, what I was going to say is the move. You get the PS5, we get you a copy of Royal, and you stream the whole game.
Are you allowed to stream the whole game? Because I remember Atlas did take down.
That was at the beginning. Now you can.
Hey, we're safe now, right?
Yeah, now you can do the whole.
Because they were really funny about it, and the copy I've got still doesn't let you take screenshots. Can't take screenshots. It disables the screenshot feature.
And I think you can do it with Royal, but not with the regular one.
It's so fucking weird. It's like, why are you so protective about your game? People can avoid spoilers. We managed to do it for every other piece of media.
Yeah, I know. They're like, no, we worked on this game for too long. So to answer Zaid's question, do you ever feel like that? Do you feel like there are games that you really like, but the farther you get away from them, maybe some of the initial hype wears off or something like that? Or
so the only time I guess it happens for me, so I think there's two aspects to this. If it's a game I've played, I develop a nostalgia for it. The same with other things in life. The further I get away from it, the more nostalgic I am for it. And often when I revisit it, it's not as good as I remember. Like if you go back and you watch one of your favorite movies from when you were a kid, it's not as good as an adult. I promise you that. I loved The Mask. It's a terrible movie now.
Depends on the movie. Some of them hold up, but that happens way too often where you're like, oh,
yeah.
You know what's the thing for me right now is with the Space Jam sequel, and I just watched The Last Dance, which is the Michael Jordan documentary, like a couple weeks ago. I'm like, I kind of want to rewatch Space Jam, and I'm like, I don't think I should do that though.
No, you definitely shouldn't do that. No, you really shouldn't. And then the other aspect to it is if it's a game I haven't played and everyone's like really excited about it and talking about it, and I'm getting a little bit of FOMO about it, and then the hype bubble like dies down, and I'm just like, I don't need to play that. I'm kind of past that now. No one's talking about it anymore. The hype's over, and now that I really have a think about it, it's not a game that's for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever done that.
Oh yeah, I mean, that happens to me with pretty much every game. Like every like big release, I'm like, oh, I want to try it. I want to get my hands on it. But like,
then you're like, no, this is Metroid. I know I don't like these games.
Well, that I'm gonna buy because I'm a fucking idiot. But like,
why?
Because I want to try it. I want to give it another shot. You know.
I've spoken to Metroid fans, and you need to play the old games first. Like, you can't just jump in on Metroid 5.
Whatever.
You need to go at it with the older ones.
That I'll watch a YouTube video that's like, here's the story, and it's like, okay, cool, I'm in. Like,
here's the story about how the X infected them.
Exactly. See, you're already making fun of the story. You tell me I got to go back and play the game for these stories that you're already.
I make the fun out of most video game stories. I think a lot of them are terrible. Like, have you ever played Destiny? The enemy is called like the Dark, and the thing that gives you power is called the Light. It's really not great writing in Destiny 1. No, really not great.
Yeah, that's what happens when you treat writers as expendable, which is what most video game studios do. But that's a conversation for another episode of the show. I would say I'm generally more on the side of the fence that you are in terms of like the further I get from a game, the more rose-colored my glasses are for it. But I definitely relate to what you're saying, Zayd, in terms of like not remembering things. Like that happens to me a lot. Like I have a really good memory for weird details, but like broad strokes are pretty easy for me to forget.
No, I get that, but less with video games and more with it's things that are narrative based. If it's a narrative based game, like when I went back and played The Last of Us before I played The Last of Us Part 2, I forgot tons of it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I know I go to a bit that's in the snow and I switch over to this. But, you know, you couldn't remember the intricate details and how to do each specific puzzle and stuff.
I think the thing that I more remember is how a game made me feel, you know, rather than like moment to moment. Like, I think about that with Breath of the Wild a lot, where like there are lots of like if I went back and played Breath of the Wild now, I think there's a lot of things I'd be like, oh, yeah, I forgot about this. I forgot about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you go into like a puzzle and you're like, oh, I remember this. And you think you know how to do it.
But you don't. But you're like, I remember. Yeah. But like it's, you know, it's still like getting jostled loose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I have that a lot. But like when I think about Breath of the Wild, I think about the way it made me feel emotionally of like the first time that I was able to glide off of the, you know, the starting area and was like, holy shit, I can just go anywhere, you know, or like those moments where like I'd be like laying in bed at my dad's house and it's like, all right, I'm going to go over one more hill. And then I'd play for another 2 hours. Okay, I'll go over one more hill. Okay, I'm going to just keep playing until I pass out, you know, like that kind of stuff. Or like being so obsessed with it that I was bringing my Switch with me everywhere, literally everywhere I went. And if I had 10 minutes of time where I wasn't doing something, I was like, I'm going to play, you know?
So that's basically you with Pokémon Unite, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But in terms of games that like having space between them and like deciding I don't like them as much, that doesn't really happen to me with games. That happens to me with movies more, I think. Like I've definitely like seen movies in the theater and been like, that was fun. That was a good movie. And then like I think about it and I'm like, that wasn't really that good. It was just entertaining, you know? Which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with something just being entertaining, right? Like something being
I mean,
okay.
Just look at the Fast and the Furious movies. They've done a great job at just being entertaining.
Right, yeah, and like a lot of people love those movies, and I don't think there's anything wrong with loving something that's like a little on the vapid
including
side.
Kojima, apparently. Did you see his tweet about the editing thing?
He fucking loves action movies. That's not surprising. Yeah. He loves Hollywood.
No, but did you see his tweet, though? It was so funny. It was like... I taught myself editing. You know, I think I was pretty good at it. And then one day I was watching TV and the trailer for Fast and Furious 6 came on the TV and it was so good I got depressed for a couple of days. And I was like, this is just so funny.
I mean, you think about Metal Gear, right? And it's like Snake is based on Snake Plissken from fucking Escape from New York or whatever, right? So it's like my dude
Escape from New York, Escape from LA, just all of the escape movies.
My dude clearly likes big dumb action movies. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? I think some people are like a little too precious about that. Where it's like, oh, everything needs to be high art, and it's like, no, it's okay to just like something. That's fine.
Yeah, like I think you can call them like popcorn movies. You just put it on. You're not really paying attention. You're just shoveling popcorn in your mouth and just having a good time.
Nothing wrong with being entertained, you know? I just think with video games, I don't usually have that relationship with them. Like if I pick up a game and it's like kind of middling, I will usually just stop playing it, you know?
That's because there's such a time investment. You know, a movie is like 90 minutes, maybe 3 hours at the most.
You get an hour in and you're like, this sucks, but I'm already halfway through it. I might as well fucking finish it,
it's
right?
It's like you and your Pokemon Unite battles. It's like, oh, I'm losing this. We're not doing great, but I've only got another 5 minutes, so who cares? It's just like press on with it.
Yeah, totally.
I've only ever walked out of one movie in the cinema.
I've never done that. I don't even think I've turned off a movie that I started like that, like intentionally, like this is so bad I'm gonna stop watching this. Like every shit movie I've ever watched, I'm like, I'm in on the we broke the seal, we're finishing this thing. Oh man, yeah. So I can't really think of any examples of games that I was like hot on that time and space made me kind of sour on them, except for like the example that you gave, where like a game like GoldenEye, right, is like a game where like I think back on the good times I've had playing GoldenEye versus what it's like to try to play it now, and it's garbage.
It's awful to play now, but that's not what it is. It's like plugged into a 15-inch CRT, 3 friends round. You're playing 4-player on that tiny little screen, and you're all just having an absolute blast, like throwing your hat as odd job or whatever. And it's like, this is a really, really fun experience. But now, because you've played so many other games, and maybe that's part of it, is like you play games that have taken that genre and taken that game and made it better.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of it. But having said that, Final Fantasy VII Remake was, what, last year before?
Right.
So it's not that long.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you just didn't like it that much. Which is okay. That's okay. You know?
Yeah, you've got was it Retrograde, Renegade?
I gotta still play that, you know? I didn't even do that yet. I'm excited, though. It's one of those games, though, that like when that came out, I'm like, maybe I play it again. Maybe I do a second run through.
No, oh, no.
I wish I had more time to replay games. I really do. Because every time I replay a game, I'm like, oh, this is great. I should replay every game that I really like. And then I'm like, I can't, because then I'll just stop playing new games.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's like I'm like that with TV shows. Rather than watching something new or watching The Office again, it's like, but I know this is really The Office is just a filler for anything else.
It's background
noise. There's nothing to do. It's background noise. I know what's going to happen. Whereas with a game, that is a commitment, and you are having to do input. So it's not like you can just put it on and do other stuff.
I think the thing that I always come back to, and this will be the final point I make on this, is that I can't help but think about, like, when I sit down to play a game, or if I'm replaying a game, that like, maybe this is morbid, but like I only get to play so many video games, you know? Like in my entire life, I only have so many times that I will get to sit down and dedicate 40, 50, 100 hours or whatever to a game. So it's like, do you want to just relive something that you've already enjoyed, or do you want to try to find that new experience to add to the, you know, to the repertoire?
Sometimes, though, you do just want to. You do just want to sit down and you want something that you know is great.
Comfort food.
Yeah.
And I think something that I generally feel this way is that I don't really think you can really appreciate, like truly appreciate a piece of art if you only enjoy it once. You know, like I think you find new meaning and you find new ways to connect with a work the more times you experience it. So that is something that I often feel like I miss out on, where I'm like, oh, I would really like to play this game again and slow down and see things with new context, or try another path, or do this or do that. But you got to make your choices somewhere. So anyway, I promised myself that we would try to keep this episode to an hour. But for this inaugural episode, We let this one.
I'm blaming you and your Pokemon Unite talk. It's all on you.
Oh, yeah, blame me, right? It's a video game podcast, and you talked about board games for 45 minutes, but whatever,
hey, people like board games. They're important.
Yeah, me talking about one of the hottest new games on the Nintendo Switch is definitely the same.
I'm just saying,
as
you
talking
could
about
arrange yourself in a little bit. You could arrange yourself in and not spoken about.
You could arrange me in. You're the co-host.
Yeah, you were having a great time. I'm not here. I'm not time locked. It's fine.
Me neither. I don't got anywhere to be right now. It's fine.
Yeah.
So we let it run long today. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us here on the inaugural episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. I hope you had as much fun listening as we did recording it. I am so excited for the future of this project. So I hope you're excited about it too. I hope you had fun with this first episode. And if you didn't, or if you have some ideas for new segments or feedback or whatever, the show's young. It's in its infancy. So if you've got some ideas, anything like that, write in. I want to hear them. If they're bad ideas, I might have to call you out on the air and make fun of you a little bit. But if they're good ideas, they'll become part of the fabric of the show. So it's a hell of a gamble, but I think you should take it.
And you really should then call them out for them becoming part of the show and not just call out the bad ones. Be like, this is a great idea.
Oh, yeah. Credit where credit's due, of course. Yeah, if you have a good idea, I'm going to shout you out. Of course.
I will say, though, if you enjoyed this, please, if you can't support us on Patreon, you can't do any of that stuff, just share it with someone.
Go to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you're an audio listener. There's so many ways you can show your support. People. Yeah, without going in and giving us that Patreon support, which of course we would appreciate. Head over to patreon.com/FlipScreenGames if you can afford it. We would greatly appreciate your support over there. It helps us, reinvest that money into new equipment, making the show better, being able to pay Chewy for his appearances, that kind of stuff. So. We really appreciate your support over there. But yeah, if you don't have those dollars, please do support us in one of those other ways that Steve mentioned. Share the show. Come join the Discord. If you've got a friend that digs video game podcasts, let them know that we're out here and that you enjoy the show, you enjoy the community, and that we'd love to have them come be a part of what we're doing here. Just to remind you all the housekeeping stuff, if you do go and support us over on patreon.com/FlipScreenGames at the $2 level or above, you'll get access to one more thing, our patron exclusive show, where we keep the conversation rolling and talk about our lives, what's going on in the world, and, kind of stuff outside of the purview of gaming a little bit. So if you want to get some extra content from us and, show your support, that's the best way to do it. So go ahead over and do that. Make sure you tune in again. I'm going to say tomorrow, for the inaugural episode of Nintendo Noise, our brand new Nintendo-focused podcast, spiritual successor to the original version of the podcast. So if you want to hear some Nintendo noise from me and Steve and Chewy, make sure you go check that show out. I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited to be working with Chewy on a week-to-week basis. I think you're going to enjoy that show too. So go check it out. And then remember that this week, this Thursday, August 12th, will be our grand return to Twitch. That is twitch.tv/FlipScreenGames. Go check it out. Go follow us before that. We are going to have to regain affiliate status on this brand new channel. So it's going to be a bit of a grind. So we would really appreciate it if you could go over and give us a follow ahead of that first stream. And again, let people know that we're out there, that you enjoy the streams, that you're going to come be a part of it too, and that they should come check it out. And then again, if you want to join the community, head over to the Discord. We'll have a link in the description down below. And if you want to have your thoughts read on the air in our question block segment, just like all the fine folks did in this episode, you can hit us up at questions@flipscreen.games with your thoughts, or join us over on the Discord and write in there. And I think that's it, right? We did it.
Yeah, that's it. And the only address you really need to remember, flipscreen.games. Everything is there.
Flipscreen.games. Yeah. Your one-stop shop for everything FlipScreen Games. Go check it out and show your support in whatever way you can. Thank you for joining us here on episode number 1. We will catch you next week for another episode of the FlipScreen Games podcast. I love you. Thank you.